Hey guys, it's 2 o'clock in the morning right now. Not a good look. I definitely have work tomorrow. Trying to sip on this sleepy time tea right here. I'm hoping that'll work. If that doesn't, I don't know what the hell will. So today, I'd like to talk about premonitions. I really believe that there are things that occur within us and just around us that we can't explain, but you also can't deny that they happen. I'm going to start off with a dream that I had in 2004, and my best friend Diana was over, and I was telling her about it, and my mom came to my room, so I started telling her about it. And I told her that in the dream I saw my father, but his face was blurred out, but I knew that it was him. And I told her that I thought that it meant I wasn't going to see him for a while, or that he would be going away. And she actually laughed and said, "You know what? I actually just found out your father moved to Florida and didn't tell us. Thanks, Dad." Yeah. Um, there was another premonition that I could recall that I had. It was in March of 2010, and I knew that my brother Carlos, which is my middle brother, he was planning on going to the Dominican Republic to meet up with my brother Jesus to stay with him for about a week. They hadn't seen each other in a little bit, and Jesus had been deported at that point. I'd say it had been a year and a half. And Jesus just really needed some cheering up. He had been having some hard times just coping with being there. It's not easy when you came to this country and you're like 1 year old and you have not been to your country since what? You were 14 years old, you're now 26, 27 years old, and now you got to go back to this country that you don't even know. And that's what happened to him. So before Carlos left, I had a dream that they were riding a motorcycle in the Dominican Republic and that they were not wearing a helmet, but that Carlos was the one driving the motorcycle and that they got into an accident, but that Carlos died. And I told my mother this before he had even left, that I didn't feel comfortable about this trip at all. And at the time, I couldn't go. I couldn't afford it. I was in a school at the time. I was in a technical school, and I just didn't feel comfortable going at that time. But I wish I could have. You can't go back. I wish I could have. I could have seen my brother, because at that point I hadn't seen him in about like 2 years, and that's Jesus. So Carlos went down there. He was out there already for about like 5 days, and they went out one night to the club, and their friends decided to do something afterwards. Carlos asked if he could ride the motorcycle, and Jesus said, "No, you don't know the area, so I'll ride." So he took, the motorcycle, and Carlos was on the back, and they were both not wearing helmets. They were actually riding in a pretty dark area, and it was a curvy road. And it turns out later on, we found out during the funeral process that Jesus hit a rock. He went head on into the tree, and he shattered his skull. He did not die right away, unfortunately, because that's, something like that, I hope he didn't feel any pain, is what I'm getting at. And so Carlos fell off. He was unconscious. He fractured his jaw. And Dominican Republic, I don't know how it is in any other foreign country, but, any medical facility a lot of times is not really close by. And if it is, it's not always the best one. But they do have great medical facilities out there. But the one that they went to was an hour away. So my brother Jesus was hanging in there. Carlos, somebody threw water on his face, so he came to. And, he was still alive, Jesus, but he didn't make it. And Carlos, we didn't find out until the next day that his jaw was fractured, because in DR, it's not like the funerals out here where the body's displayed for like 2 days. They preserve the body. Their body's not really preserved that well. They literally do everything in like a day. So as soon as we found out, we flew down there, and he was already there in the funeral home by the time we got there. So it's very quick. And, we didn't know about Carlos until after the funeral, after we I don't know what those things are called. He's in a wall. It was a family thing that they already had set up. So that's where Cito was placed. And my grandma's actually there now with him. And my cousin died a year before, also on a motorcycle. He was 17 years old. His name was Jeffrey, and he's actually in the same cemetery. Um, so Carlos was in pain. We took him to the hospital, and they were able to operate on his jaw. I think they had to put screws in, wire his jaw shut. Um, it was a really hard thing. It's not easy to deal with something like that to begin with, but especially dealing with it out there, it's not like private like it is here, like just random people off the street walking into the funeral home, just curious to see who this is, like, it was not easy. It was not easy. Yeah, it left a bad taste in my mouth, that's for sure. Um, but the funny thing about that too is that the people you think would be there, nah, aren't the ones that are gonna be there. My own father didn't even come to the damn funeral. So let's talk about that. I mean, he didn't even go. It took me a long time to forgive him for that, long time. But I'm glad that I decided to do that, that I got to the point where I could. But the people that we didn't expect to be there were there, and if it wasn't for them and their contributions, it would have been very difficult, extremely difficult for my mother to pay for the funeral and my brother's surgery. It was a lot. But this all goes back to me having that premonition, and I don't think that you could stop things. I just think that it's just crazy how you could sense things are coming, and that just is nuts to me. So yeah, just I'm sure there's plenty of other things that I've experienced that they'll come to me, but those are the two major things that I could think of off the top of my head. If you have any crazy dreams or premonitions, things that came true, definitely share them with me. I'd love to hear them. Okay, definitely post on the bottom and subscribe. There's a lot more things that I'd like to talk about with you guys. All right, good night.